Paranormal King Radio Network at ParanormalKing.com.
Welcome to the Paranormal News Insider for the week of January 15th, 2019. And this is episode number 382. And this is your host, Dr. Brian D. Parsons. And we are live right here on the Paranormal King Radio Network at ParanormalKing.com. And this week, nothing really earth-shattering as far as the paranormal news is concerned, but there's a lot of stuff. Don't take that the wrong way. There's a lot of information coming your way here on the next hour right here on the Paranormal News Insider. This week's news includes a Bigfoot discovery in North Carolina. I'm sure you've seen this story after numerous 911 calls. Tasmanian tiger, or Tasmania, I could say that 5 times. Tasmanian tiger discovery. Yes, and Project Blue Book review. We're going to talk about that show. It's on again tonight. And we're going to also talk about Roswell rebranded. Lights in the sky over Texas causes a stir. And did China really go to the moon? Yeah. TESS begins to impress. So some interesting headlines. Those are what we call teasers in the business to get you to hang around. And I do recommend you hang around and listen to the show. Check it out. If you've never heard the show before, well, you've been missing out. You've been missing out for 381 episodes. So welcome. And if you've been listening lately, well, welcome back. It's always good to have you. And hopefully I'll bring you that cutting-edge news that you're used to here. And let's see. I think I talked about that last week. Yes, about updating the conferences, conventions. I did talk about that. Nothing really new. I'm just kind of waiting for some new ones to drop, waiting for new stuff to fall in. And we'll continuously update that list. I think it's a pretty darn good list going so far. And one programming note, I know that Dita there in the chat room will not be happy to hear this, but next week there will be no live show, I should say. We'll replay this show, which will be weird if you hear this next week, because then you'll think there's no show the following week. But anyway, so on January 22nd, there will not be a live program, and there will be this episode will replay, and we will be back live on January 29th. That is if I'm able to walk. Because I'm going to be out in the state of Arizona trying to relive my youth. Going to be at the Cleveland Indians fantasy camp. So I'll be playing baseball, a lot of baseball games in a very short period of time, and we'll see if my legs can handle it. So we'll be out there in the same training facility that the Cleveland Indians play in, and they'll be out there about 2 weeks after about 2 weeks after I leave, give or take, and they'll probably be out. Some of them will probably be there when we're out there working out, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, just trying to not get hurt and have fun, and getting to play with some guys that I've grown up watching play baseball, and former manager Mike Hargrove will be there, and a lot of Cleveland Indians alumni. There'll be 16 former players that are going to coach 8 different teams, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. I'll miss you guys though, so I'm camped out under a fly ball in the Arizona sun, soaking it in instead of sitting here behind the mic, already cold at a balmy 21 degrees here in Northeast Ohio. So looking forward to that, and I'll be back, and then I'll be able to start thinking about all my other trips that I've got planned out. I'll be going on a cruise in March. I know Dita won't be happy about that either. But after that, then it's kind of chilling out until May, and then May is when all the fun events happen. Well, not all the fun events. A good chunk of good fun events will happen. I'll be going to a Ghost Conference up in Michigan, and I'll also be going to the PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure. I haven't talked about it in a while. I know. I used to talk about this event every week, and you're going to hear a lot about this as we head into March, April, May. I'm going to talk the entire show probably before this event, and probably the entire week after this event. This is a really exciting thing. This will be the third year that I've been involved in this and will be there as a speaker, and it's only the third year it's been around. They did take a year off last year. So the 2019 PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure takes place May 31st through June 2nd, 2019 at the Benner's Meadow Run Campground. That's in Farmington, Pennsylvania. Tickets are already on sale. And the last I heard, there was only about 30 or so pre-sale tickets available. But there's going to be some other tickets as well, but you don't want to wait. Trust me, don't wait. People are going to start getting cabin fever. They're going to start getting this going. And you're going to be out of luck. You're going to be on the sidelines. You're going to be you're not going to be out in the woods with us. So you'll also, in addition to getting your tickets, you're also going to want to lock in some lodging for the event as well as soon as possible, because the tickets for the event don't include lodging at the campground. So you're going to either want to get a campsite, cabin, or another something or other, hotel, motel, whatever you want to do. Grab an RV, whatever you got, and get some lodging for that weekend as well. Celebrity guests will be on hand. The Appalachian Investigators of Mysterious Sightings, also known as AIMS, or in other words, the guys from the Mountain Monsters television show, will be making their second straight appearance. Also, Bill Brock, host of the television show Monsters Underground. Ken Gerhard will be there. Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Cliff Barackman of Finding Bigfoot will also be on hand. And this doesn't even count the 12 speakers. So a dozen people speaking, including myself, workshop hosts, and other special guests, including Paranormal King Radio Network's own Lon Strickler. He'll also be there. I'm excited. I know I got a lot of trips ahead of me. I'll be going, Arizona next week, Puerto Rico in March, Michigan in early May. I'm going to be all over the place, but I'm really still excited about Farmington, Pennsylvania in late May, early June. It's scary because that's like the official beginning of summer. I don't know what I'm going to do. Spooky. And let's see, got the special guests. So yeah, I'm excited to hang out with some friends, fellow speakers, Ron Murphy, Steve Coles, Dave Drageson, Rick Fisher, Stan Gordon, and Jay Bachochin is going to be there along with his son Blake. All pretty good friends of mine, I would say. Don't really hang out with Steve too much, but he's an awesome guy. The Squatch detective up there in New York. And Jay's also going to be speaking, having his son there. His son Blake is going to be helping him present his Finding Jay documentary, which will be interesting. Other speakers include Paul G. Johnson, Dave Spinks, David Weatherly, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and the 2017 Cryptozoologist of the Year, Seth Breedlove. It's truly the experience of a lifetime. That's what they say. I say it will be intense. Yes, the PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure will be intense. You get it? Ooh, wow. Okay, that was pretty bad. But yeah, it will be intense because we're going to be intense. Some of us. I'm not sure. I already have my thing picked out. So there's a link in the chat room for the PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure at pabigfootcampingadventure.com. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. And you're going to hear a lot more about it. I'll be doing the same spiel probably every week, but I'm excited. I am excited. Looking forward to that. And I'm going to even start doing my presentation, I think. I don't know what I'm going to speak about this year. It's going to be really kind of exciting. All these special guests and everybody pouring into town. And speaking of Bigfoot, it's a good segue for the news here. Encrypted news, North Carolina has been a popular state for Bigfoot sightings in the last few years, but reports have hit an all-time high. There's been multiple reports of an 8-foot-tall Bigfoot with glowing red eyes reported in the town of Mocksville, North Carolina. Davie County Animal Services responded to the numerous phone calls, including 911 calls, and eventually investigated the sightings. Now, many drivers stated they saw the creature in about the same spot, so the search was on for clues to hopefully find this legendary creature. Amazingly, believe it or not, Bigfoot was discovered. Yes, Bigfoot was discovered. The discovery was made public, of course. This is how you do things in the good old 2019, through a Facebook post. That's how we communicate nowadays. The Bigfoot, as it turns out, is real, but not really alive. It's a large wood carving of a Bigfoot, complete with red marbles for eyes. Yeah, I guess I should have headlined that. People are losing their marbles seeing Bigfoot in North Carolina. Maybe I'll have to go with that headline instead. The Facebook post by the Davie County Animal Services serves as a warning to drivers in the area that the creature's eyes appear to glow and that you do not need to call animal control to report a Bigfoot. Yeah, and I do have a picture of that guy, and I'm going to throw that in the chat room right here. So yeah, if you're missing out on the live conversations that are going on here in the chat room, we're also missing out on some freebie pictures that are getting put in here as well. Links to these stories I'm putting in as I talk about them, and so you can get all that information all at the same time. But I get it. You don't always have time to listen live, and we all sometimes catch up to these podcasts. I know I do. There's a lot of shows I listen to, but I don't have time to listen to them live, or I'm doing wrapping up this, so then I go back and listen to other people's shows. And yeah, so there it is in the chat room. You see the big wooden carving, anatomically correct. Well, not exactly, sort of. Well, I think. I don't know. Looks kind of weird, but looks kind of cool. It looks like he's wearing high heels. And also, I put in the Davie County Animal Shelter Facebook post there in the inset of that picture as well. So pretty cool, I think. It's a lot of people have taken concern to this. It's a public hazard or something like that, but it's on private property, so there's no laws being broken or anything like this. I just hope nobody steals it, because now it's getting a lot of press coverage, and I just worry somebody's gonna tie this to a four-wheeler and just drag it off like a Bigfoot body. Yeah, he's carved out of wood. And he's got a stick that he's beating a tree with right there. That's pretty cool. So it's kind of somewhat correct. I should be making a tree hut, I would think. But anyway, pretty cool. It's on private property, so you're not going to be able to go up and see it. But you can drive by and look, I guess. Now, I've seen statues kind of like this, not exactly like this. And in a lot of places, I know I was down in Salt Fork, the Salt Fork Lodge area, Salt Fork State Park here in Ohio, and they're everywhere down there because there's a big consensus of sightings in that area. There's a lot of the conventions take place here in Ohio on Bigfoot and other cryptozoology stuff, but mostly Bigfoot conventions in and around the park. And there's also a campground. It's a primitive campground, so you don't have there's no water or anything. It's just basically grass. You just bring your own tent and set things up. It's a primitive campground. It's called Bigfoot Ridge, which is pretty cool. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. I think it was 2017 down there kayaking. It was a lot of fun and kind of hiking around the area. Pretty neat. Lots of deer. Didn't see any sign of Bigfoot except for maybe that guy in the RV. He was a little spooky looking. Anyway, that's your Bigfoot sighting update, and I'm going to get the link and I'm going to throw that in the chat room. And you might want to duck, Dita, because this is coming straight at you. All right. Just an extra dimension of stuff here that I can add to the show. Live links. It's my thing. It's what I like to do. Information. There it is. That would be nice if... oh gosh. Is she all right? Somebody help Dita up off the floor here. I think she's hurt. Anyway. Also, in cryptozoology, it's... Man, I can't believe it. The Tasmanian tiger is back again. What is going on? Well, I think we went an entire year last year without even mentioning the Tasmanian tiger. Now this is another week, 2 weeks in a row that we're talking about this cat. Well, it's not really a cat. This creature, whatever you want to call it. It's extinct. Well, that's what they think. I don't know. I don't know what to think. Maybe he's alive. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I'd like to go out there and look for him, to be honest. But this time, it's not about a sighting of the creature. It's... again, said to have been extinct since 1936, when the last known specimen died in the Hobart Zoo. The story is about a skin that was recently identified that may lead to the revival, yes, the revival of the long-lost Tasmanian tiger. Archie Robertson was an artist, sculptor, woodcarver, and a skilled taxidermist in New Zealand. Upon his passing, his family split his collection of taxidermied animals, weapons, and other items that were collected and stored in his self-built home. In a drawer, Robertson had kept two skins, which were not mounted, one a Tasmanian devil and the other a Tasmanian tiger. The skins were gifted to a taxidermy museum along with a collection of birds from around the world. Just last year, a museum curator and his students were visiting the museum when they spotted the striped skin and told them of the significance of that skin. And it just so happens it's just one of 78 known skins of the carnivorous marsupial and may be the best preserved one yet. The discovery has people like Mike Archer foaming at the mouth at this discovery, which may lead to a revival of the extinct creature. Archer is part of the Lazarus Project, which aims to bring back and reintroduce extinct creatures to their former habitats, such as the southern gastric brooding frog. Yes, that sounds exciting. Be good on a sandwich. Several others have been working on bringing back the Tasmanian tiger, including a team which has published the complete genome of the creature back in 2017. So let me get that. It's kind of an interesting thing. You know, we, a couple of years ago, we talked about the gentleman who had the hairs, and he did very close, obviously, microscopic photographs of the hairs to help continue to provide information about the Tasmanian tiger. Or the thylacine, also known as the thylacine. So there was only 2 other times where this was documented, and the latest was not very good. The photographs were, I believe, in black and white, and they weren't very detailed, didn't go very far in depth, and the ones before that were actual drawings. So he had this hair, so documenting the hairs doesn't sound like a really big deal, but in the long run, if somebody were to say, hey, we found the thylacine, we found the Tasmanian tiger, here's our proof, we've got hair collection, we can test that now. We can compare hairs to see whether or not this is actually the Tasmanian tiger or thylacine. But now with this skin, you know, it's possible that DNA could be taken out of this and put into, I believe they were saying a Tasmanian devil and being able to hatch one of these guys, get one of these guys running around, kind of like Jurassic Park, I guess. Although I don't think that thylacines are going to start eating tourists and ripping down electrified fencing and chewing on lawyers and things like that. But I don't know. It'd still make a nice movie. It would still be great to see that. It would be better than seeing robotic thylacines. And part of me would love to see that. The other part of me says that it's not really the same thing. We kill those things off, and it's not the same. But still, to bring them back, I think it'd be great. And I still hold out hope that somebody does actually find a living, breathing thylacine out there in the wild. I don't know. It's hard. The longer the time goes by, it's kind of hard to hold out hope. But we'll see. We shall see. Time will tell. But I don't know. There's a lot of sightings. A lot of people swear up and down that they've seen this creature within the last 20, 30 years, even the last couple of years. A lot of reports. A lot of reports to me seem like just misidentification, fox or other creatures. But you never know. You never know where this guy's going to be. And yep, got the link in there and everything. So that is your cryptozoology news for tonight. And we're going to zoom or fly off or travel or I don't know what else I could say to UFO news. And we're going to talk about that Project Blue Book. Did anybody out there watch last week's episode of Project Blue Book? No? Okay. Well, somebody did, I'm sure, out there. But as expected, there was plenty of kickback in reaction to the History Channel's new show, Project Blue Book. And I didn't watch it. Didn't watch it the night it came out. I did watch it a couple of nights later on the History Channel. And, well, I guess Dita watched it. I did watch it on the History Channel, after it was, posted on their website. And I got excited to watch the preview for the following week as well. Now, the show is said to be based on real events and surrounds J. Allen Hynek's involvement with Project Blue Book and its search into the sightings of UFOs and aliens in the 1950s. But as hopefully anybody who is watching the program would know, when it flashes in the beginning of it and it says based on real events. Every time I see based on, I roll my eyes because I know what you're about to see is just names or places, and everything else associated with it is going to be complete and utter made-up stuff. Yeah, made-up stuff. I'll stick with that tonight on this family-friendly episode of the Paranormal News Insider. But, yes, there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of extra drama added to the show. But what seems to be a concern to many in the UFO field is what information people will take as factual and what people will not. I mean, what is real, what's not? I mean, how do you figure that out? And like I said last week, it's the producers of the show kind of wanted to put it out there so the people watching would be able to make up their own minds about these things. But it's almost as if the History Channel is just kind of shoving this information out, and people are thinking that everything that they saw last week was real. And a lot of people have jumped in and said, whoa, let's put the brakes on here. This isn't quite accurate. Let's pull the parachute on that UFO and let's slow down for a second. Let's look through all this stuff because it's not as accurate as one would think it would be. I had a chance to watch it, and I was happy with the result. I was kind of rolling my eyes as I saw some of the stuff unfold because I already knew, where they were going with some of it or what, the true stories behind what they were doing. But I'm also concerned that a network called History, the History Channel, would purposely get so many elements wrong, as well as make up a lot of stuff in order to thrill an audience. I don't know. It just seems like a lot was just really I mean, it's dramatized. It's television. What do you expect? It's not going to be accurate and historical. I mean, gosh, look at the other shows that are on the network. They're not historically accurate either, no matter what everybody wants to believe. The result is that the show Project Blue Book is, I would say, more fiction than fact. I mean, all you have to do is look at the dogfight over the skies of Fargo, North Dakota, which was actually reported. And, the names associated with that were true, but it was completely misrepresented in the show. They showed contact with the UFO, which did not happen. They showed firing at it, which did not happen. And this communication through a song, which I was like, wait, what? Where did this come from? That was also not reported. Then you had, of course, what kind of really, I think, if it wasn't for this, I think I'd be okay with it. But the Men in Black and this mysterious thing where he's following this shadow person into this abandoned amusement park. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it just was like, come on, what are we trying to do? It is trying to kind of steal elements from the X-Files. Lock, stock, and barrel. There it is, the X-Files. It's trying to kind of piggyback on that a little bit. And just a lot of elements were just pure fiction. But again, just like the network's other alien-inspired show, I'll say it, Ancient Aliens. A casual viewer of that show may not be aware where the truth begins and the fiction takes over. I mean, they did it again. What they do is they just they give you a couple of grains of truth, but they wrap it in fat-soaked lies, and they shove it down your throat, hoping that you'll not regurgitate, that you'll swallow it whole, and you'll believe everything as the truth. Even though you've just swallowed a lot of fiction at the same time, because they try to blur the lines. They throw so much information at you so quickly that you're not sure where the truth begins and the lie ends. And they kind of do it here as well in Project Blue Book. But it's actually really entertaining. And if you can understand that it's mostly fiction, based loosely on real events, to be honest with you, but still very entertaining. And I did, once I got over knowing that a lot of it was made up, I just sat back and said, hey, for show, it's actually pretty good. I mean, the CGI is a little bit of, it's a TV show. I mean, you can't expect Avengers type stuff on every TV show, but it was pretty good, all told. So yeah, enjoy the show for the entertainment value, but be aware that a majority of what you're seeing did not even happen. And the events that did are being misrepresented in several ways. But hopefully it does the thing that they intended, and I hope that viewers of this television show do their own homework and look up this stuff. I have plenty of UFO books at my disposal, and it didn't take me long to pause the show sometimes and look through a couple of these things to re-verify what I thought I knew. And but hopefully people will look things up. And I don't trust too much of where where this information is coming from, especially when it's online. People tend to make things up and add things, but the books aren't always accurate as either. If you look at certain UFO sightings from book to book, it's almost like two different witnesses are reporting the same thing. So you kind of got to be careful out there with UFO stuff. But all told, I think Project Blue Book is worth watching. There's only 9 more episodes, so it's not like a 22 episode season or anything like that. So soak it up while it's here. And we'll see what it does to UFO sightings in the near term, in the next couple of months. If it really inspires people to look more towards the skies, which is kind of my hope, get more people involved in UFO research, because UFOs is becoming quite ridiculous. And we'll talk more about that in a subsequent story. And the ship really needs to get righted. I mean, it needs some new blood in this that are going to take this really seriously and cut out the crud that we see on YouTube and a lot of other networks. But tonight, yes, tonight, Project Blue Book continues. And tonight they're going to examine the Flatwoods Monster. Another one of, it's a really good case, and I'm kind of excited to see that. I've read books on this. I've been in the area to where the Flatwoods Monster was seen. It's an interesting case that was kind of, you could say, part UFO, part cryptid. And I haven't seen it. I know people have seen this already. People have talked about it. Yet the monster doesn't look anything as to what you're used to. But I hope it didn't change it too much because it's kind of, I don't know. I'm just going to say this. Keep an eye out for owls. If they were smart, they would have an owl in one of the scenes, just as a kind of a, I guess you'd call it an Easter egg for the whole story. Anyway, I'll leave that at that. And the next week, so the following week on January 22nd, they're going to have, that'll be the third of the 10 installments. They're going to have look at the Lubbock Lights incident, which is a pretty big deal in the UFO field. So see how they handle that one. I think it's just going to grow and grow and grow. It's just going to get bigger and bigger as the episodes go through. But I'm excited. I'm going to keep watching it. Probably take me a little while to catch up. I'll be out of town, but really looking forward to continuing on with that series. So, well, I have a link to that story. I'll throw that in the chat room as well. And don't worry if you're not live in the chat room. Like I said, if you're going to listen in, or listening live, maybe you're not in the chat room, or you're listening after the show has already been put on, well, don't worry, because I'll be putting all that through my social media outlets. So through Facebook. And Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/ParaNewsInsider. You can also find me on Twitter at ParaNewsInsider. And the website is paranewsinsider.com. And yes, the brown lights in North Carolina. We're also going to be talking about some lights in Texas here in a second as well. So kind of keeping one eye on the chat room, one eye on my thing. No wonder I'm cross-eyed. Anyway, we have news out of Roswell, New Mexico. That's right, Roswell is in the news. And speaking of, what a coincidence this is, that tonight another UFO-based show makes its debut. And speaking of that is KRQE out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Gotta love those Western television and radio networks starting with K's. KRQE out of Albuquerque, New Mexico is reporting that the city of Roswell is getting rebranded. I don't mean rebranded like a cow getting a brand on its behind. Now, last year I talked about how a new combined Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins was about to open in Roswell and would feature a 22-foot tall alien, a sign that would be a one of a kind for either company, and any combined store for Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins, with this giant alien in town. Now, last year, the city hired a marketing firm to help them come up with a solution to unify the city's 26 different internal logos that were in use. So every city-based service, I guess you could say, from the police department to the fire department, they all use different logos. The name, but maybe a different font and different symbol or whatever. So now they spent $20,000 to a firm to help come up with a unified logo for all the city services, and also create a sense of unity for the community as well. Roswell will soon sport a green letter R with a UFO in the center creating, I guess the best way to describe it is negative space in the opening, with the letter having a beam coming from the bottom of this craft, also in negative space, displaying the opening of the letter R. So just imagine the letter R with the opening of the R, and a UFO there shooting a beam down through the middle of the R, and that's your logo for Roswell coming soon. And the logo, well, I got a picture of it here. Let me throw that in the chat room in case you haven't seen this yet. And it's pretty cool. I think it's a good idea. I think they're right out in front of us. I only have the one logo. I don't have the other piece of this. Is actually they're really going all out with this. So this is kind of the marketing firm's. Actually, I think it's initial one. I think they've redone a little bit on it. For the R, and you can see the negative space there of the UFO shooting a beam down, which is weird because Roswell's known for a UFO crash, not abduction. But I'm not the marketing firm. I would have done it a little differently. I have my own ideas. You guys could have hired me. I would have done it for half of that. I'd have done it for $10,000. Well, maybe $18,000. Travel expenses, you know how that goes. But I think all in all, it's a pretty neat idea. And not only is it going to have the R, but it's also going to have its own font with Roswell, New Mexico. But it's also going to have, at times, this logo is also going to be accompanied by the words, "We believe." And it's pretty cool because they have T-shirts and hoodies. I don't know who'd need a hoodie out there. It's pretty warm, but well, it's cold at night, just like Arizona. And they have this logo with "We Believe" at the bottom. It's pretty cool. Director of Public Affairs Juanita Jennings said of the words "We believe," she said, "We thought it could have two meanings. We believe in ourselves and what we stand for, and we could also believe in the aliens and the incident. One voice, one look, one feel, and also give the community that one identity that they can really get behind," unquote. And I think it's a real good idea. I think it's really neat that they're combining and got all the city services on one thing, and they're really going after this UFO thing. And like I mentioned, just the last story, Project Blue Book, it was new last week. It's on episode 2 tonight. I believe that's on 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And now you have this announcement with this new logo for Roswell, New Mexico, when Roswell, New Mexico is getting some free advertising with a television show called Roswell, New Mexico. Wow, how weird is that? And if you didn't know, yes, it's debuting tonight. And it's a reboot. You might remember this. The show Roswell is from a long time ago. It's like 10 years ago, I think it went off the air. Maybe longer. I never really got into it, to be honest. And it debuts on the CW network tonight at 9 p.m. But again, check your local listings. Should be a great night of television for UFO fanatics, UFO and alien fanatics. And I don't know. I mean, it's the CW, so expect all the characters to be like in their teens, late teens, yet acted by people in their 20s, mid to late 20s. But yeah, you know those CW shows. It's expected to generate a little bit of tourism to the city. I mean, hopefully the show sticks and it's pretty good. People tune into this show and they like it. Roswell, New Mexico. And yeah, sorry to tell you, Jim, there's a show competing with you tonight. Roswell, New Mexico is competing with the Mallard Report. Oh boy, that's going to cause some conflict. I'm sure it's going to break up some households out there as well. But this show, I'm sure if it does take off, it does half as good as Roswell does. It should generate a little tourism to the city beyond what it's already used to. I mean, the city thrives on tourism out there. And the city plans on debuting this new logo and slogan of "We Believe" this July. And it's going to be made public, what's already kind of made public, but it's going to go into effect just ahead of the annual UFO festival. So it's going to be pretty cool. And I think it's going to be really good. And I hope I get a shirt. That's all I got to say. I want to get a shirt from Roswell with the new R and all that fun jazz. I haven't seen it. It's not available on their website or anything like that yet. So looking forward to that. I mean, who's not going to want a Roswell, New Mexico shirt? I think that's pretty cool. They're going to make a lot of money with those. The T-shirts and hoodies, bumper stickers. They should do like a one of those. Do they still do those like oval white things with the letters in the middle? Like nobody knows what things stand for. They should do one of those with the new font. I think that would be cool. So there's a link to the story there in the chat room. And yeah, Roswell rebranded. How exciting is that? So we're going to go from Roswell. We're going to stay out west, but we're going to go down south to Texas, y'all. And Texas is no stranger to lights in the sky. I kind of mentioned it here a second ago in the chat room. The Mitchell Flats, just east of Marfa in West Texas, is home to what's known as the Marfa Lights or Marfa Ghost Lights. And scientists feel that a majority of those sightings, which started, I think, in the late 1950s, I believe. Scientists believe that a majority of these sightings are actually atmospheric reflections of car lights. Yeah, but it's been on all sorts of TV shows over the years. It's one of the leading kind of weird lights, I guess you'd call them. But, I believe in the chat room, the Brown Mountain lights were mentioned as well. And there's quite a few. There's a lot of different ones. But you also have now something else going on. And about 200 miles northeast of Marfa, there's been a lot of calls about strange lights in the sky. They've been pouring into various agencies in Midland, Texas. And this really all took place last week. Cities in the clouds. That's kind of weird. Maybe I should have made that connection, because that's exactly where we're going with this story. Yes, Midland, Texas. Last Tuesday night, the lights in the sky were described as either orange or white and seemed to hang vertically in the air. People were a little freaked out about this. They weren't sure what was going on, and some people reported one or two, while a few people reported seeing as many as 50 lights hanging in the sky. Despite the odd nature and spookiness of this whole thing, there turned out to be a very logical explanation. This is a phenomenon that happens pretty much anywhere, and typically in larger cities dealing with pollution. But it's kind of rare in Midland, Texas. A response by the National Weather Service in Midland said the lights were due to lights from gas flares. So they have the oil wells out there. Different things. They refracted by thermal inversion. So essentially, the lights in the sky were essentially created by ice crystals reflecting this light in the sky. So basically, just a natural phenomena basically caused from the clouds, ice crystals in the clouds, low-lying clouds, and inverted temperatures. It's kind of weird stuff. I've actually seen these before, not quite to the degree that I see in this picture here. And I do have a picture, and I'll throw that in the chat room. But pretty neat. If you've not seen this picture, well, if you're in the chat room, you're about ready to see it, unless you close your eyes. Do one of those, whatever that show is. Everybody's making fun of with Sandra Bullock. So there you see these lights in the sky. Spooky stuff. There's lights just hanging in the sky. It looks like it's blurred, but that's what they look like. This is a professional photographer, Stephen Tippett, that created this photograph. I didn't create it, he took it. Captured it on his camera, I should say. So interesting stuff. And I do like the stranger stories, especially when they're able to be explained. I think it's neat to sometimes people do see things in the sky and they automatically think it's something paranormal or alien involved or something like that. But there's a logical explanation for this. And we've talked about other atmospheric phenomena. We were talking in the chat room there a second ago about cities in the sky, which you could basically call that Fata Morgana, which is basically just the reflection of objects created by basically the heat separating raising something up in the sky. Basically, it looks like something is floating. You'll see a ship that's over the horizon, and it'll look like it's either floating in the sky or it's a lot closer than what it really is due to the temperature inversion going on. Yeah, it's maybe not the best picture because it shows a lot of these things, but those lights are that's exactly what you see. You see these lights just hanging in the sky. Like, where do they come from? It looks like little light chandeliers hanging in the clouds. They're just hanging there. Kind of cool, kind of spooky. Like I said, I've seen them before. It happened in very cold weather. Just lights just hanging in the sky. I mean, you could tell what they were because you could see the other lights. And again, I saw the same thing with the colors. I saw oranges and whites because I could see the lights that were below it. So you could tell that it was actually the same light in the sky, just reflected there by the atmospheric conditions. So we're going to go from Texas. Where are we at here? Well, we're going to go to, I don't know. Go to the moon, or we can go to China, one of the two. But first, let me get the link in the chat room here about this Texas lights incident. It's not really an incident. Occurrence? Probably a better term there. Got a little press. Got a little reaction to it there. So, yes, we're going to go to the moon, to a story. Now, certain stories I generally weed out. I don't even talk about here on the show due to their ridiculousness. Although sometimes ridiculous stories, sometimes they're entertaining. Sometimes they're fun to talk about. But some other times, these ridiculous stories are just basically a way for somebody to cash in on the paranormal and generating click-throughs on their websites through fake stories. And that's why I ignore them here on the Paranormal News Insider. I don't support that. I don't like that. I mean, trying to fool people or make stuff up just for attention or monetary gain through websites, I think it's in poor taste. Unless you're admitting that your website is for entertainment use. But if you're trying to say that you're promoting the paranormal news and yet you're talking about fictional stories and you're making witness names up and you're putting fictional words up on in a story, I've got no sympathy for that. If people call you out and they catch you, it's ridiculous that these kind of things happen, but they do happen quite a bit. And I try to ignore them here on the show. Now, many times they're the same names behind these types of stories, which I generally try to ignore as well. But this story got me really wound up, and it takes ridiculousness to a whole another level, and takes you all the way out to the moon. Actually, well, not just the moon, but the dark side of the moon, which is not accurate because it's not always dark. It's just dark to us, I guess. And it makes a good album if you're into such a thing. An article was published yesterday, and the headline had it said, quote, "Chinese moon landing dismissed as fake by high-profile UFO enthusiast," unquote. Well, who is this high-profile person, and how do they come up with this idea? Well, The person's name is none other than Scott C. Waring, through one of his websites, UFO Sightings Daily. Now, Waring claims that due to the lack of rocks on the surface of the moon and what he feels is a line drawn on the ground that serves as a stage prop line, that means that China faked their latest moon landing. Yeah, so a line he sees on the ground and the facts that he doesn't see any rocks means that China faked everything. They faked everything. So I don't know if he knows this as a UFO enthusiast. He calls himself a ufologist in some articles, and he calls himself a UFO expert in other articles. But China's been to the moon before. I don't know if you've known this, with landers and rovers. I believe this is the second rover to be up there from China. I mean, yeah, it didn't take. I mean, I'm not a genius by any stretch of the imagination. I do find myself to be a pretty good researcher, I think. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this supposed prop line is nothing more than a reflection of the solar panels on the craft. Now, in fact, I viewed a lot of pictures of China's latest as well as their earlier moon landings and saw the same effect on the moon's surface. So did they fake everything, every single picture, every single angle? No, I don't think so. To me, it's obvious it's a reflection of the sun off of these solar panels. And let me get a little bit of my work here. It's kind of clustery. I got a lot of stuff all compiled, compacted, whatever the word is, of different photographs of the moon landings from China, and threw them all together. Little red arrows, because you got to have little red arrows on stuff, right, to show where things are at. And again, as Dita pointed out in the chat room, if you're in the chat room, you can click on that and it'll make it, well, it's not extra big. It's just there. It doesn't make it too much bigger. But you can see where there on the upper left-hand corner is the original Scott C. Waring post, or a picture, I should say, that accompanied his post, that says the Chinese rover has stage prop line in front of it, indicating faked moon rover landing. That doesn't indicate anything. It just indicates that that's where the light is reflecting off of the edge of the solar panel that's sticking out. And you can see multiple angles of this this rover with the same line around it, taken at different times as the rover's moved around. And even off of one of the landers there in the top right, that also has a similar reflection on the ground. It's not where they lined up these things. It's not how, I don't know if you've ever seen like real TV stuff when they do that. It's usually a really small piece of tape. That's not a big line. They're not going to spray paint a line where they're going to be filming an object. That's insane to even think that. Quite a leap of yikes, quite a leap of ridiculousness, if I can say so myself. Now, Scott Brando is I call him a hero. He's a really good researcher, really good investigator of UFO phenomena. And he's of UFO of interest. If you've, I highly recommend following him, because then you don't even have to listen to me talk about this UFO stuff, because he pretty much debunks it. He beats me to a lot of these stories, and I think I'm pretty much, I'm trying to be out ahead of all this stuff, but he is really, really good, a very good researcher, and he's usually right out ahead of these stories, or right on time with them. And we kind of discovered this at the same time. I kind of sent it to him, and he blew up as soon as he heard that name, because him and Scott Waring don't get along too much, and he's exposed him for creating fraudulent cases and putting them up on his website in the past. So, I don't take anything of what Scott Waring says to heart. His cases I don't think that they're very accurate. I think he makes up a lot of stuff, and most of his stuff is just like this. It's crazy. Who would believe this kind of stuff? It's very simple. Again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that's just a reflection. Crazy stuff. So Scott Brando of UFO of Interest tweeted a GIF or you could say GIF if you're old school. Basically, a moving picture on the internet's things. So on Twitter, so we tweeted that out of the lunar rover. Lunar rover. Let me say that 10 times. Rotating in its own tracks. And lo and behold, you won't believe this. The lines moved as well. Wow. So yeah, there's discussion in the chat room. Yes, I always say GIF. That's how I learned it when I was writing computer codes when I was 10 years old. When GIF came out, like the peanut butter. Yes, it is GIF, like the peanut butter. But everybody else says it's GIF. And I believe the gentleman who created it also says that it's supposed to be pronounced. He intended it for GIF, but he says it doesn't matter. So I kind of lost that argument. But anyway, so on his blog, Scott C. Waring said in part, quote, "Wow, I just took a look at this amazing panoramic photo of China's after they landed the rover on the dark side of the moon. And what did I find? I instantly noticed a stage prop line for placement of the rover in the photo. That's right. Someone mistakenly placed a line in front of the rover and forgot to erase it. Or they should have made a line much smaller. This screams staged event altogether. This is very disappointing. But I guess China may have decided since NASA faked the first Apollo moon landing and got away with it, then China wanted in on it too," unquote. Oh boy. So let's unpack this baggage slowly here. So Waring is also with the belief that his own country faked at least one moon landing. Many people don't fully grasp that it would have been a lot more difficult to actually fake the moon landings than actually go there. I mean, I don't get it, what people don't get. But from the technology that was not available at the time to having to get 400,000 people to lie about it as well that were a part of the whole thing. I mean, how do you get that many people to lie about it? Every excuse and theory about the moon landings being faked has been torn to shreds, and nothing sticks. Sorry, nothing sticks. I researched it. I wasn't sure. I thought, hey, maybe this is right. Maybe this is real. Maybe we didn't go. But I looked at it too, and there's no reason to believe any of it, to be honest. And it has been belief alone that has kept these conspiracy theories alive over the years. So I don't think that's, that we did not go to the moon. I think people are just, I don't know why people get so mad about that. Forget Armstrong. Let's get Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin will knock somebody out. You call him a fake. He did that once. He did do that once. He knocked somebody out. Knocked a conspiracy theorist out over misleading information, calling him a liar. So, yep, I'm going to throw that link there in the chat room as well. And there you go. Boom, there it is. And, yeah, that's really irritating, really annoying to me. And again, it was probably wouldn't have talked about it, but I saw it bouncing around a lot in the paranormal news, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. People actually believe this stuff? I mean, not even any research into it. You just saw one picture and just made an assumption that the whole entire thing was faked? Well, I don't think so. I don't think that that's really where he was going. I think he was just trying to get attention. And that's normally why I wouldn't talk about a story like that here. And he got people to pick up on it. He got people to, he probably got paid to make that stuff up. So, wow, one little blog post, I think it was like maybe 500 words. And I'm sure he made a lot of money from that. It's really sad that people stoop to that. And last but not least, one of my favorite topics that's not really technically paranormal, but it could be. And a lot of math here, a lot of science here, but just hold on. The show's almost over. Last story. So this might put you to sleep with all these numbers and things. But according to the website, the Extrasolar Planets Encyclopedia, As of January 1st, 2019, there are 3,946 confirmed planets in 2,945 systems, with 650 systems having more than one planet. The Kepler spacecraft, or Kepler Space Telescope, counted over 530,000 stars and discovered 2,662 exoplanets during its 9-year lifetime before its batteries ran out on November 15th of 2018, which is weird because that date coincided with the 388th anniversary of Johannes Kepler's death in 1630. Exoplanets were first discovered in 1988, and every year a few were found, but in 2014 there was an explosion of over 700 new exoplanets discovered, with the 1,000th official one announced on January 6th, 2015. So that number is nearly tripled in just the last 4 years. The Kepler spacecraft was responsible for a majority of these findings, and Kepler was only looking at a small region in space. Now, the new machine up there circling the planet is called TESS. TESS stands for the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, the successor to Kepler, which was launched in April of 2018, and will be surveying the entire sky, looking at systems within 200 light years of us. TESS has a long way to go, with only 300 candidates and around 8 confirmed planets discovered, but the data is fresh. The data is still rolling in. These numbers are sure to skyrocket. There's been a handful of interesting discoveries already related to TESS's numbers and data that's been pouring in, but I imagine soon, I'm just going to say it, here's a prediction, NASA will have an announcement that TESS has found something truly interesting. They've not made that public or anything like that. I don't know if it's true, but I've got a feeling that with all this data pouring in, that they're going to find something really, really neat, and they'll make it public, and they'll get people behind this. So what's all the fuss about? We've done a pretty good job at destroying Earth. We're in no shape, technology or monetarily wise, to travel to other worlds to kind of save ourselves. So what gives? The need to explore is, to me, in my opinion, is worth the price tag. And the more research we do now, the better off we will be when we can design something that can go faster than our current technology. So the closest potential habitable planet to Earth is about 12 light years away that we know of so far, in the habitable zone of the star Proxima Centauri. Well, 12 light years, that sounds pretty close, right? It's only 12. Well, looking at current technology, the speed of the fastest recorded man-made object ever, which was the Helios 2, when it used the sun's gravity to slingshot itself into space. Using that speed, it would take about 4,269 years to travel just 1 light year. That's just 1 light year. So that would mean it would take 51,228 years to get to the nearest known possible habitable planet. So I guess it's safe to say we better keep studying these things before we waste valuable resources sending something or someone out into space. That's a long trip. And definitely you're not coming back. And in case you were wondering, a light year is the distance it takes light to travel 1 year, which is approximately 6 trillion miles. That's a lot of zeros. This would mean if you were to try and walk a light year, I guess it's possible, it would take you 215,993,799 years to do so. It would take you 2,591,925,588 years to go 12 light years. So you better pack some extra shoes. Well, on the other hand, you don't want to pack too much because you don't want too much weight because that'll slow you down. I don't know. Providing all these calculations are correct, I just kind of did some quick math. It can't be too far off. But yeah, you know what? When you think of it that way, yeah, you better pack a lunch. And really makes you feel really insignificant when you realize just how far away we are from everything. I mean, it's astronomical. It really is. So again, no live show next week, but I will see you in 2 weeks. Well, I won't see you, but you'll hear me. And hopefully I do see you there in the chat room on July. I almost said July. I'm already looking forward to it. January 29th. But for now, keep your eyes in the skies, your ears in the woods, the hair standing on the back of your neck, and always keep your mind slightly ajar. Above all else, don't stop believing. For the Paranormal News Insider, this is Dr. Brian D. Parsons reporting.